Hi, I'm Gabby, and this is another episode of No Photo with Kobo Podcast. Today's topic, we're entering the makeup world, and we want to talk today about lipstick, lip glosses, lip balms, lip oils, all those different textures and effects that we can have on makeup for lips. And to help us out, we have one of the Kobo's legend formulators, Carl Orr. Hello, Carl.
Hi, Gabby. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so happy that you're here with us. Carl, can you start by telling a bit of a story and your career?
Oh, sure. As we start, I'm going to keep it brief due to the timing for this podcast. But I started my career at Bonnie Bell Cosmetics in 1971. I'm not sure if anyone ever heard or remembers Lip Smackers or 1006 lotion. That was Bonnie Bell. I then went to Maybelline Cosmetics and then to Almay Cosmetics, which became part of Revlon. I worked on mascaras and all types of colored and skincare cosmetics. After Almay was shut down, I went to Estee Lauder and worked in both Clinique brand and Estee Lauder brand. I started to work at Kobo Products in 2005, and I am now a part-time consultant. As you can see, I'm old, or rather ancient, but I've worked on all types of eye products, especially mascara and pressed powders. And at Estee Lauder, again worked on all makeup products. And at Kobo, I've started the application lab. And basically, we specialize in all types of products, but especially makeup products and sunscreens.
Well, Carl, thanks for sharing a bit of your story. As I mentioned before, it's such an honor to have you here and to listen to all of your experience and expertise on makeup and formulation. So I'm very happy to have you. But let's talk first about our lipsticks, which is the topic for today. And I want to start with kind of the basics. If we consider a classic lipstick, anhydrous, high coverage, what would you say is kind of the major challenge of this type of formula?
When we are talking a classic lipstick with high coverage, I'm thinking about a one swipe type lipstick. There are a lot of challenges, as with all lipsticks, but these require, in general, a higher pigment load. And let's say double the pigment load is going to add a lot more absorption to the product. Then these pigments and lakes must be ground very well. You need to find an ester, an oil, or vehicle that will wet the pigments very well and is going to give you a thin grind so that you can add them to the formula. You might even need a pigment dispersant, let's say, to help your grind phase. You will probably need to use a ball mill, especially since there will be a large color grind. You're going to have a large color grind and it's needed. And then once you have the formula, you need to be sure it gives the application your marketing department wants and it doesn't feather. By using this thin, high concentration pigment grinds, you can minimize absorption and still be able to get the structure you need. You can even add film formers for long wear. Then you have other challenges, such as getting pilot batches done, and then to be sure you get the same texture and no sweating on your large pilot batches. And if you're using metal molds in the lab, you need to be sure you get the same texture in your production batches, which can be difficult, especially if your production area uses silicone molds. Oh, and I didn't mention the challenges of your component. Your lipstick must stay in the lipstick cup and not slip out. The splines in the cup help to keep the bullet in place, and it should not soften going through the desert being shipped upside down. And I just want to mention, though, that Kobo has very thin, high concentration pigment grinds in various vehicles that can make your life easier. And we also have a lot of prototype formulas if anyone wants to look at them.
Yeah, I'm sure. We have a lot of formulas. We're actually going to talk about a formula later in today's episode with Elsie and her guest. So you'll be able to have an example of those and saying that just to our audience, Carl. And thank you so much for all those tips. Definitely creating a really good lipstick is a really big challenge. I want to bring up something you mentioned in your answer about the molds. Because we have the metallic molds, which are usually used in our labs, but in production, there are a lot of silicone molds, as you mentioned. What's the difference between using each of them, and can we use kind of the same mold for the same formula, or not really?
Well, there are considerable differences. For instance, with the silicone molds, you can eliminate flaming and you can even emboss a logo onto your bullet. And you have very little shrink hole, and the lipsticks can have a beautiful shine on them. The main silicone machines are what's called the acetas. The metal mold machines, such as the Wackerle, are fast but yield a duller stick and a larger shrink hole. The major difference, however, is in the cooling rate. The silicone molds are thick. If you ever seen them, they're thick and they take longer to chill. Whereas a metal mold chills very rapidly. With silicone molds, a vacuum is used to take the molds. It expands the mold and stick can come out. In a metal mold machine, the bullet is chilled very quickly and there is shrinkage enough to remove the bullet. The chilling rate, however, makes the difference in the texture of the lipstick. The outer surface of the metal molded stick will be harder on the outer surface since the quick chill crystallizes the waxes quicker. So the bullet will be much harder all over the surface than with the silicone molded lipstick. And you ask if the same formula could be molded on a silicone mold machine and a metal mold. And the answer is yes, but you will have a different texture between the two sticks. The silicone molded will be softer and the metal mold will be harder. This can be shown on a crush test and to some extent on a breakage test. If you perform a test where you slice the lipstick with a thin wire and measure the force needed to go through, it will be very evident. You might need to add a little more high melt point waxes. You see this all the time when you try to go from the lab to cetus molds, or you try and go in your production wants to use a cetus mold instead of the metal molds. It usually comes out softer on the silicone mold.
Yeah, I think that's a very important thing to notice. And it can be definitely a challenge when we are doing the big batches on production and getting the same result as we had on the lab. So thank you for those tips. I want to go back to something else about that really bright, high coverage lipstick. When we think about those types of products, getting those vibrant shades, it can be always important if you want that deep, intense red, for example. How to get those really intense shades? Do you have any suggestions there?
Well, first, if you're looking to get really intense, I mean, you've got double the load, you're going to be extremely intense. But I think when you want to get more vibrant shades, I like to use the bromo pigments, like the red 21 lake and the red 27 and 28 lakes. These give bright colors, and some TI2 can even help make it even a little more bright. You can get a very bright pink. You need to use more lakes always than iron oxides, which can dull the stick. Also, remember that bromo dyes will stain the lips, so that you need to keep that in mind. I've also seen resurgence of manganese violet used in lipsticks lately. This will give a bright violet shade, and it's seen some violet shades are in. So basically, you use lakes, especially the bromo lakes, with some TiO2, and you should be able to get some very vibrant and intense shades.
Okay, I like that. I really love Red 27. And I agree with you. If you add a little bit of TiO2, you can get a really vibrant pink shade, which is one of my favorites, actually. Carl, I want to mention now something that it seems very trendy right now, which are the vinyl looks. We had some phases of the vinyls, but now they're coming with also kind of long wear. Any tips to get this kind of vinyl glossy look, but also sort of long wear at the same time?
Well, to get the long wear, you need a solvent and film formers. When the solvent evaporates, you have your film formers and pigments and waxes. And as the solvent evaporates, you can get long wear. With enough solvent and waxes, you can get even transfer proof and transfer resistant coins. Now, the vinyl effect. Most of the vinyl that I have seen on the market are liquid lipsticks. But now the vinyl effect you want comes from high refractive index esters and oils and silicones. and this will give you the shine. And you must minimize the amount of waxes that you use. The waxes are going to dull your film. So if you use silicones, gel-ins, you can use less wax. For instance, the new vinyl products have virtually no wax. When these are
Hmm.
applied, solvent evaporates and you can get very shiny vinyl looks on the lips. Oh, and don't forget, you need an airtight case with the solvents.
Hmm. Yeah, those are very interesting tips. And since we're talking about trends, Carl, I know that you still travel, especially to Asia. So I'm guessing you like to keep up with new products in the market. Can you share some of the interesting types of new products or innovation that you have seen around?
Sure. One of the ones that I've seen right now is that there's some very interesting lip glosses that have become popular very quickly. One brand from Rom and that has lip glosses with fruity flavors. These lip glosses are applied with sponge or doe foot applicator, and they give sensational shine. The formula contains acrylic, esters, and silicones. And when the water evaporates, you have a beautiful gloss on the lips with even long wear. The acrylic film formers give the shine and the long wear. And there are several brands of these that are on the market, and they're a big success. Most of the major ones came from Korea that I've seen, and this Ronan is Korean. It's available all throughout, let's say, Japan, where it's very popular also. And I see that it's starting to come to the US. So I think that's a product we want to take a look at. I think very trendy, especially with the water and the acrylics. And when it evaporates, you've got this beautiful shine and long wear. And if you put flavors in it, it gives an added sensation.
Yeah, I never seen them in person, but they do sound very interesting. And the fruity flavors, as you mentioned, is very, very popular, including in Brazil where I'm at. So I think those formulas could be quite interesting, as you mentioned. And maybe our app lab can work on something like that for us as well in the future.
I hope we are. I know that our Japan lab is starting to work on it.
Oh, that's really good news. Carl, to finish up our part here, I wanted to ask you maybe a complex question. What do you think makes a perfect lipstick in your view?
That's a good question. What is a perfect lipstick? I mean, is there even one? To me, there is no one perfect lipstick. There are so many different types of lipsticks. I mean, it's very subjective. There are long wear, there's non-transfer, one swipe, there's high coverage, there's shiny and matte. There is no one lipstick that could be all of these things at one time. If there was or is a perfect lipstick, it would be on the market for years. If there is a perfect lipstick, it is one that would be developed and marketed and be there for years.
Hmm. Okay, I'll give you that. I agree that there are no just one perfect lipstick. Maybe there are some perfect lipsticks and some that are interesting and will have one specific characteristic for one specific goal or claim that a person wants. Maybe there's no just one that will work for everyone, right?
Right. Every woman wants something different. And I mean, even take a look at right now on the market, how many different shades there are. I mean, you look at all the different shades that MAC has created, and then you've got, what is it, the Fenty 50? And I mean, there's so many shades of lipstick in their line. So a woman wants color. That's number one that I think when she buys a lipstick. And then you start getting the textures. Does she want long wear? Is she willing to do even a two-step lipstick to get one that will last longer? It's very subjective, and there's not one lipstick, I think, that covers the whole thing.
Yeah, there's definitely multiple possibilities there. Well, Carl, that's the end of this part of the episode. Thank you so much for being here with us today. And thanks, our audience, for listening to us so far. I'll leave you with my dear co host, Elsie Alvarado, and she will discuss a really beautiful lipstick formulation. Hello, Elsie.
Thanks for that great discussion, Gabby. Now let's switch gears and dive into our formula of the month, where we highlight an exciting formula, its key ingredients, and the innovation behind it. Today, we're taking a closer look at plastic-free formulations. Specifically, we'll be talking about a breakthrough product concept, our formula code KLP-298-EU, a powder sensation liquid lip color. It's a cream to powder formula designed to give a blurred matte look, all while eliminating the traditional plastic ingredients. We'll explore how this formula achieves its weightlessness, non-tacky feel, the sustainable technologies behind ingredients like silica blends and natural blur agents, and what this means for the future of clean, high-performance makeup. Joining me is Urmi Dhamnaskar, one of our application lab chemists in the UK, who's here to share insights into how this kind of innovation is created, why it matters, and where lip color is headed next. Hi, Urmi.
Hello, Elsie. It's great to be back on the podcast.
Happy to have you, Urmi. So to get us started, I'd love to hear a little bit about the product concept and innovation behind this formula. What inspired the development of this plastic-free liquid lip color?
The idea behind this was to first create a lip formula that contained microplastics and then create another formula that uses Kobo's microplastic replacements using the same formula chassis. We wanted to demonstrate that microplastics can be replaced in a formula without compromising on the texture, feel, and performance of the formula. And I think we were quite successful in doing so by developing the plastic-free KLP-298EU powder sensation liquid lip color.
That's a really smart way to show the difference. It's great that the plastic-free version still delivers the same feel and performance. This formula really proves sustainability doesn't have to be a compromise. The product is described as a cream to powder texture. Can you explain what that means for consumers and what products are responsible for this texture?
So, a cream to powder texture indicates a transformative texture, which means it starts with one texture and after application, it transforms into a different one. In this case, the liquid lip color starts with a creamy application, and towards the end of the application, it feels very powdery and matte. We've used 3 microplastic-free powders from Kobo's portfolio that help us to achieve this effect, and they are MS Expanded H, Kobo SMC BNCS6, and Kobo Blur 100 Natural. Each powder has its own attributes that contribute to the formulation.
Yeah, that's a clever use of powders to create that creamy to powder transformation. It really shows, again, how texture can be reimagined without microplastics. Speaking of innovation, let me ask you, how does this formula achieve a weightless, non-tacky feel compared to traditional lipsticks or glosses?
Traditional lipsticks and lip glosses make use of oils, esters, and high refractive index emollients like polyisobutene, which might give a heavier feel on the lips. In our formula, we chose ingredients including the emollients that are lighter in feel and also non-sticky. Combining them with our powders I mentioned earlier helped us to achieve a weightless and non-tacky feel.
I just love that. Lighter emollients plus those powders really give the formula its unique feel. Can you walk us through the role of silica, the MSS 500H, and how its high oil absorption contributes to that matte finish?
So we've used a porous silica microsphere in this formula, MSS 500H, with average particle size 12 microns. This silica has high oil absorption of 300 grams per 100 grams of oil, and because of its highly porous surface, it absorbs the oily finish of the emollients and thus contributes to the matteness of the formula. This trick can also be applied to other formulas where a matte finish is a desirable attribute, like in foundations and compact powders.
Thanks, Urmi. Let's talk some more about other ingredients and technologies that helped elevate this formula. What's unique about Kobo SMC BNCS6, and how does it mimic the feel of polyurethane while staying plastic-free?
Kobo SMC BNCS6 is a microsphere complex from Kobo's texture enhancing series called Kobo SMC, which are made using an optimized blend of different ingredients and no plastic particles. And they are still able to impart properties similar to microplastics in a wide range of finished products. Kobo SMC BNCS6 imparts slip, smoothness, and spreadability that is comparable to polyurethane, all while staying microplastic free. And it also contributes some soft focus effect in the formulation.
Yes, this Kobo SMC BNCS6 is an effective 2-in-1 formulation tool, a texture enhancer and blurring product minus microplastics. I'm sure that product developers can appreciate this idea a whole lot. So, how does the Kobo Blur 100 Natural create that soft focus blurred effect on the lips?
Kobo Blur 100 Natural is also a microsphere complex, and this ingredient has a blend of raw materials that scatter light. We've tested Kobo Blur 100 Natural for the haze it provides using a haze meter, and it was compared alongside a silicon resin microsphere and a polymeric microsphere. And we found out that it was able to scatter light effectively in media of different refractive indices. So, the soft focus effect and the blurred effect on the lips we get from the light scattering nature of this ingredient.
Clearly, Kobo Blur 100 Natural is such an innovative product. It's a must have on formulation benches. So, moving on to the next question. The formula uses IMBP pigment dispersions. Why are dispersions advantageous compared to milling pigments in house?
The first reason would be that it simplifies the making process by reducing shade matching time and manufacturing time, which translates to savings in labor and costs, as you don't need to mill it yourself. With our dispersions, which also have high pigment load, that is up to 75% of solid content in the dispersion, the particle size range stays precise because of our advanced dispersion technology, and there's no reagglomeration of the pigments from lot to lot and over time as well, which really helps with color development. The pigments in our dispersions are also surface treated, so they contribute to better skin feel and adhesion with extended wear in the formula.
There is no question that dispersions really simplify production and keep color consistent while improving feel and wear. Urmi, thanks for walking us through the formulation and technologies. Now let's move in the direction of talking about sustainability and the impact these innovations are having on the market. Why is eliminating plastic in formulations important for both brands and consumers?
For brands, it is important to eliminate microplastics in their formulations, firstly, in order to be compliant with the regulatory aspects. It also serves as a differentiating factor and makes them stand out in front of other brands, is what I think. And for consumers, it is more about their personal choice and ethics and consciousness regarding the environment.
It's so interesting how this trend influences product development for increasing eco conscious consumers. Do you think consumers are actively looking for plastic free claims in color cosmetics?
I think the consumers of today are pretty conscious of what they're consuming in the personal care and makeup category. With the rise of social media and creators all around the world, consumers are being more and more aware of what they're putting on their skin. Many consumers these days read the label and go through the ingredient list of products before making a purchase, which is a good thing. And I think an environment conscious consumer would definitely want to go for something non microplastic in color cosmetics, as they would know the effects of microplastics in the environment.
Absolutely. It's clear today's consumers are much more ingredient savvy and environmentally conscious. With social media and creators, as you mentioned, raising awareness, people are making choices that align with their values. Given this, how does this product balance high performance with sustainability goals?
We carried out a panel testing to check the performance of this lipstick, which was a comparative study using this formula, KLP298EU, and its microplastic containing variant called KLP297EU. And what we found out was that in terms of texture, 100% of the subjects strongly agreed that the two formulas felt very similar. The panel also agreed that the microplastic free formula glides just as nicely as the other, and in fact, the microplastic free formula also scored a higher score than its microplastic containing variant in spreadability aspect. So, based on these results, we can say with confidence that microplastics in a formula can be replaced without compromising on the texture, helping you get both high performance as well as achieving your sustainability goals.
Thanks to your sharing those results, it's clear the formula delivers on both performance and sustainability. Let's move into the formulation and manufacturing side of things. Looking at the procedure, what are some of the challenges formulators might face when working without traditional plastic materials?
Looking at the procedure of this particular formula, I don't think there will be any challenges per se. MSS 500H easily swells in the emollient that we've chosen for this formula, and the other two powders that we have used here are free flowing powders. So they get incorporated into the formula easily as well. Just a quick reminder to always wear a mask when working and formulating with powders in the lab.
That's great insight, Urmi. It's good to hear that the powders incorporate easily and shouldn't pose any challenges. And absolutely safety first when working with powders in the lab. The process includes multiple parts. Can you break down why each stage matters for stability and performance? Can you take us through the manufacturing process, please?
Yes, so part 1 contains the porous silica imisuspended etch and caprylyl methicone. As I said earlier, this silica has high oil absorption. So in this step, we mix these two ingredients and let the silica swell in the emollient in order to form a gel-like mixture. Then part 2 contains other emollients and waxes that help with structuring of the formula and forms the base of the lipstick. Part 3 contains an organically modified clay that helps with suspending everything well in the system. And after mixing these two parts, we mix in part 1 into it. Then part 4 contains Kobo SMC BNCS6 and Kobo Blur 100 Natural. We mix these two powders in the mixture we made by combining parts 1, 2 and 3. Then part 5 is added mixed well, and at the end we add dispersions from part 6 and mix them thoroughly until a uniform color is obtained. So yeah, this is how this formula is prepared in the lab.
Well, thanks for breaking down the procedure so clearly. It's helpful to see how each part contributes to the final formula. It really shows how the combination of ingredients and steps comes together to achieve both performance and feeling. What ingredients can we use in this formula in order to increase its longevity?
This formula was created with more like a comfort wear type of texture in mind. In case someone wants to improve the long wear properties of this lipstick, they can for sure incorporate a suitable film former from our portfolio.
It's good to know that if longer wear is desired, a suitable film former from Kobo's portfolio can be easily incorporated. Let's end our final segment of questions on trends and outlook for these types of products. Do you see other textures gaining popularity?
Yes, unconventional textures or formats, which we don't usually see in conventional makeup, like, for example, eyeshadows, which are usually in pressed powder form. But these days, many brands have eyeshadows in alternative forms, like a liquid eyeshadow or a stick eyeshadow, which could be water based or like also in a volatile solvent like isododecane based. I'm seeing Play Doh type of formulas already gaining popularity these days in the blush category. And we have, in fact, formulated a squishy, bouncy blush called KBL045EU that has this type of texture. And you can find the formulation on our website if you're interested to see.
Yes, that bouncy blush is incredible. It's such a unique texture. I haven't experienced before with makeup. It completely took me by surprise because honestly, it did remind me of Play-Doh in my younger years, of course. So, how do you see plastic-free innovations evolving in the wider makeup category beyond lipsticks?
Lip category is not the only category that uses microplastics. There are foundations, compact powders, eyeshadows, and many other formulas that use them. So eventually, this plastic free innovation would evolve to include these categories as well.
Yeah, and it makes sense that microplastic-free innovation would expand into other categories. It's exciting to think about the broader impact this could have across the entire cosmetic and personal care industry. So, Urmi, tell me what excites you most about the future of sustainable beauty formulations.
Something exciting about this topic are the new innovations in raw materials, sustainable raw materials, upcycle ingredients like our UraQ powder, and getting to use and test them in our formulas is something very exciting for me.
I agree. Personally, I think exploring these materials is one of the most inspiring aspects of formulation today. Urmi, thank you so much for sharing your insights and walking us through the formulation, technologies, and sustainability trends. It's been a great learning experience to hear about these innovations and the exciting directions the industry is heading. We really appreciate your time and expertise.
Thank you for having me here.
Of course, Urmi, thank you for coming back. For all those who tuned in, we appreciate you listening through and hope that you found this episode to be informative and of some value to you. Our intent is to get you inspired to create formulas such as the one just discussed. If you would like to see the complete formula and want to know more about the ingredients discussed, go back to the description of this episode where you will find links to the formulas and literature of the ingredients mentioned. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to your account managers, as they are always ready to support. Also remember that on social media at Kobo Products, you will find pictures of the products and application. This podcast has been created by the content team at Kobo Products Incorporated. Kobo Products is a raw material cosmetic manufacturer and distributor specializing in treated pigments and dispersions. Be sure to follow us on Spotify or the platform of your choice so that you don't miss any episodes. Until next time, keep innovating one ingredient at a time.